Hello, Fawn here, and today I am going to be showing you how to play around in Vectr to make your own artwork. So if you're not familiar with Vectr, it's an online artwork editing tool that you can use for free. You don't have to download any program to your computer. And we have a whole playlist dedicated to Vectr, so definitely check that out. I'll have that linked below, but we kind of go through the basics, getting started, and some other things you can do. But today we are going to be talking about how to create your own artwork rather than just taking someone else's artwork and resizing it or whatever. So let's get started. So you just go to a web browser and go to vectr.com. So if you're not sure on how to get started with Vectr, again, like I said, check out one of our other videos on getting started with it. But basically, I am just opening the program and opening a document that's set up to print. I always like my artboard to be the same size as what I'm going to be printing on. So this is what Vectr looks like, and again, in some of the other videos I went over some of the things a little more detail, but you have your basic toolbar over here on the left, and that's just going to give you very basic tools, and then you have a few over here as well, a snapping, and then these are kind of more like your file, like export, save kind of things, and then down here, these tools will change depending on what tool you have selected over here. So the basic things that you can do in Vectr, again, it's a free online program, so it's not going to be as robust as the kind of programs that you download to your computer, or even like Design Space or Silhouette Studio. Those are going to be much more robust, but some people, especially beginners, just want something simple and easy without all the bells and whistles, and that's where Vectr would come in. If you want to do like fancy designs where you're, putting your text on a curve, or I don't know, doing all sorts of different kind of things with your designs, you're going to want to use a more robust program like one of those. Either Design Space, Silhouette Studio can do that. Of course, Illustrator, Inkscape, CorelDRAW, those are some that I can just think about at the top of my head programs out there, but this is going to be for just basic typesetting and basic shapes. So definitely one of the things you can do is, just like if you wanted to create your own text design, you can do that with the text tool here. So you would just select the text tool and select over here and type your word. So let's do, what kind of design should we make today? Maybe a Valentine's Day one. So let's do something cute like, all right, let's add like a little heart with some text inside. So I'm gonna have it say be mine. So I'm gonna first select or type the word be, and I'm gonna make the word separate, be in one text box and mine in the second text box, and I'll show you why. So if you would just put everything in one text box like this, and then you come over here and change your font to whatever. All right, so then after I would have it the way I want it, I always right click and outline my text, and that kind of makes it like artwork. However, usually in other programs, you would be able to ungroup this right now, but in Vectr, you're not able to ungroup artwork. So this is just treated all as one piece of art. So I can't move the word be and mine around separately. So in order to do that, I have to actually do two separate text boxes. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm just going to select the text tool, and again, type the word be, select it. All right, so Vectr comes with sort of a standard set of fonts. So again, this is an online program. It's not actually on your computer, so it's not reading fonts from your computer. If you have a specific font on your computer that you want to use in Vectr, you have to upload it individually. So you would just go to this plus button right here, and then you could add a local font, and you would go to wherever you save your fonts on your computer. It's all different on all different computers, so wherever your fonts are saved. But I have mine right here on my desktop, or like the ones that I download from the from online, or that I purchased or whatever. So I'm just gonna pick one here. Let's just pick. Let's see what Magnolia Sky looks like. All right, so once you click that, now it's in Vectr, then you can go over here and actually select it. So I'm just gonna type in Magnolia Sky. And there you go, that's what it looks like. You can adjust the size here as well, so I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger. All right, and then I am going to make another text box that says mine, and select it and change that also to Magnolia Sky, and increase the font. All right, so looking at your text tool, these are the tools that you have available to you. You have your text, your font that you want, and then your size, of course. Your line height is gonna be the space between your lines. So say you did have B on here as well. If you wanted those to be closer together, you would decrease your line height. So it brings mine up closer. And then your letter spacing is the space between your letters. They're also known as kerning. So if you would want this font, it wouldn't make sense because it's a cursive font. You of course want the letters to touch, but if you're using a font and you wanted more space between your letters, you could do that with this letter spacing over here. So I don't want that. I'm just going to keep mine at 0 and 100. And then if you also are setting text and you want it to be justified center or right, that you would do that here as well. So again, I'm just gonna have the word mine in this text box, so that's fine. And then you have your color, and you don't really deal with shadow at all for Ikonart stencils. Border, sometimes you might, if you want to add a stroke to something, like say I thought that these lines here weren't thick enough, well then I could go in here and add, whoops, a stroke, and I could, whoa, I could actually make them thicker depending on what I typed in here. I could thicken up that, kind of almost like make it bold. All right, so then once I have my artwork the way I want it to be, I'm actually going to add another one to that as well. The way that I want it to be, let's see, I will just select it and right click and go to outline text. I just prefer working this way because now it is artwork instead of a live font, so you can't like retype the word or anything anymore, but I just find it easier to work with and it's just my preference. All right, so we have Be Mine right there. Now let's add a shape. So you could either, if you had a shape that you already had from a different SVG file, you could copy it and paste it into here. We're gonna use the shapes that come in here. So it's very basic, but they do have a heart. So I'm gonna actually add that and make it black over in fills. And then, let's see, I'm gonna send this to the back. So when you have your artwork selected, there's these couple little tools that show up here. So this is, if you wanna mirror your artwork, flip it horizontal or flip it vertical for some reason. This is send to back and this is send to front. So I'm gonna send my heart to the back so that the words are in front of it. And of course I have my words set to black so you can't see them, but I'm gonna change that so that they're set to white. So I'm just gonna go to fill and go to white and go to the border and go to white. And the same thing for the word B. White, border, white. All right, so now I can select that and scale it to be like the size that I want. Or, you know, location I want, or however I want it to look. If you want to rotate your artwork at all, you can either kind of hover above this corner in the upper right until that little circle appears. Come on. And then you can do it that way. Or down here, once you have that selected, you can see if you look in the lower right where it says dimensions, you can change the width and height right there, but you can also rotate here as well. So if you would rather rotate by number instead of just manually, you can do it like that as well. So that's that. All right, so now we have Be Mine in there. Make it a little smaller because I think we should probably add an arrow maybe. So with your draw tools, you can either draw with the pen tool or you can freehand draw with the pencil tool. So if you want to draw with the pen tool, you're just going to select a point. I'm going to go down here and then I'm going to drag it all the way up here. like that. And then in order to like deselect the tool, I just press the escape key. Okay, so then, or to like kind of get off the tool. So now I want to select that line I just made, and I'm going to thicken it up here quite a bit. Oh, not that much. Let's see what 0.05, no, 0.09. Let's go 0.1. Let's go 0.15. Okay, I'm going to make it black. Okay. I'm going to send it to the back so it's not covering up my white letters. All right, so now I'm going to put it where I want it. Yeah, and then I'm going to use the pen tool to make my arrow as well. Let's see. Just kind of eyeballing it. All right, then I'm going to press escape to get off of that, and then I'll select it and make the border the same size, so 0.15. All right, so that looks good. And then we'll do the other end of the arrow down here. So again, you can freehand it with a pencil. The pencil is a little trickier, but if you want to, you can. But it's just kind of like, you'd have to get really good at it. So that's why I prefer to use the pen tool, so that I can actually make points. So to use the pen tool, I literally just click, and then I can drag this part wherever I want, and then I click again, and then click again. Okay, and then escape to get off that tool, and then select it and make it again 0.15. All right, and then I'm going to right click and copy, and then I'm going to right click and select paste in place, so that'll paste it exactly on top of where it just was. And then I can kind of move it where I want. So that looks good. All right, let's get that more centered on the page. All right, so right now I just have all these pieces of the arrow kind of all separate. I'm just gonna group them together by selecting all the pieces and right-clicking and selecting group. And then I will send that to the back again. Oops. Send to back. And that looks good. I'm gonna actually select everything, and then I shift click on the arrow now to deselect the arrow so that I have everything else selected. And I'm gonna just move this down a little bit just so it's a little bit more centered. And that looks really cute. So that was a pretty basic thing to do that. I did want to show you a couple more tools. So if you have some shapes that you're making, so you can either, like pick one of these shapes and click over here. I'm going to change the color so you can see it better to black. Okay, so there's a square. You can change the dimensions over here, or you can do it manually. Right now, this little lock button is clicked, so that's going to scale everything exactly proportionately. So I like doing that if when I'm scaling something, I don't want to distort it at all. But if you want to change the square into a rectangle, then you could just either do it manually over here, or you could, if you had exact dimensions that you knew you needed, you could do that over here as well. So there's a 3x2 rectangle. If you would want to scale it not in proportion, you can also click the shift button as you scale. So then you could just make it anything that you want. All right, so I wanted to show you these other tools quickly. So I'm just going to add another shape, and I'm going to add a circle. So say you want a shape that looks like, let's see, like this over here, but you don't want this to still be on your artwork. I want to align them vertically centered. So I'm going to right click and select align middle. All right, perfect. So now I can select this shape and select this shape by clicking shift select, or you can just drag over both of them and it'll select them both. And then you're shown these little tools up here. So you have unite, subtract, intersect, exclude, divide. And all these are going to do a few different things. But I just want to show you what they'll each do. So unite, add really combines the two. So we don't want that. Subtract is going to be what we're looking for. So if we're just looking for only this black piece and not the white piece, Here, let's see if we can turn the white a different color so that maybe it'll be easier to tell what I'm doing here. Okay. So now if I do the subtract, it's gonna subtract to the piece that was in the background. So it subtracted the pink away from that. So if I had the pink one in the background and then did subtract, it would leave the pink part and subtract out the black part that was in front. Hope that makes sense. But basically, if you're looking to make custom shapes, this is the way that you would do it using these tools up here. Exclude, so exclude takes away the part that was intersecting, and intersecting leaves the part that was intersecting of the two shapes. Yeah, okay. So that's how you would do that, and then you could add whatever you wanted to add in there. They have all these different, you know, shapes in here that you can kind of play around with. Let's add a music note. Change it back to another color that I can see first here. There we go. All right, so if I want to maybe do something like, I don't know, just making this up as I go along here. Okay, so now I would make that white, because obviously to make stencils you have to make everything white, but say you're making a logo and whatever, this is what you want it to look like. So then you can select the text tool again and add a text box, and you would just type in, you know, like if you're trying to make a logo, the name of your company, and then you would just change the font. Selecting fonts is one of the hardest things in designing, for sure. There's all sorts of like font guides that you can get on Pinterest or whatever, like the best fonts to combine with each other. All right, so here's a font that has like a lot of extras. So Piazzolla. So now I can change the different thicknesses over here. So I'm gonna go with black, and then I'm going to hit escape to unselect the text, and then I'm going to outline it right away. All right, so then I'm just going to do that. And then if you want to add just a straight line, you can also do that with the pen tool, the same that we did for the arrow. So I'm just going to go, you know, select it here and shift click over here. That'll keep it in an exact straight line. And then hit escape, and then select it, and now I can change the border to 0.02. And then let's just add a quick like tagline. So, right. And then you can outline that, and if you select that and then shift click the company and right click align center, it will align them exactly to each other in the center so that you're, you know, getting everything exactly perfectly lined up. So anyway, that's just a really quick example of how you would do a logo. I mean, really quick and dirty. But that's just a couple different things that you can do in Vectr for creating your own artwork. Of course, another really popular thing is just simply setting text and making text quotes. So you can do that as well. So I'm just going to speed through this part of the video because this video is already super long, and I'm using a lot of the same tools that I've already showed you. So I'm just setting my text in the different text boxes, and then I'm going to adjust the fonts. And I like that in Vectr, it shows you the font like preview when you're selecting the font. So it makes it a lot easier to select fonts because it kind of gives you a preview of what the font's going to look like. But I'm just adjusting my fonts, and then like I said, I like to outline them so that I can adjust them easier. And then once I have them all the way the way I want them to look, I'm just going to move these pieces of artwork out of the way so that I can kind of like get a better visual of this, center all my artwork. I did decide to quickly add a name at the bottom to personalize it a little bit more. So anyways, you get the idea. That's how you would kind of make your own text thing. That's how you could make your own logo. And then you also have this. One thing I wanted to show you on this, because I scaled this down, it doesn't scale your stroke. So because this arrow is a stroke, it's like a line with a stroke on it, when I scale it up and down, it keeps the stroke at the same size no matter what. It doesn't like scale it. So as you could see here, this got a lot closer than when I had like scale it up. It kind of separates a little bit. So that's something to look out for if you're going to be scaling your designs, to make sure that if you have strokes in there that it's still looking proper. So those were 3 really random things that I showed you how to do in Vectr, but I hope it helped you to see that you certainly can create your own artwork. You're not limited just because it's free, you can do it. So if you found this video helpful, please go check out our playlist for all of our Vectr tutorials. My name is Fawn and I share videos on how to make and use Ikonart stencils. So if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.